Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am working on insulation and carpet. I'm going to split them into two videos, but some areas insulation will go in first and others carpet will go in first. When I say carpet, I mean like wall fabric carpet. So I bought a bunch of materials for various jobs. Some of them I'm kind of thinking, did I need to buy them after all, but I will use what I have. So my insulation, my main insulation for deep areas is a wool insulation. It comes from Wales. It's using Welsh mountain wool, and it is felted on one side to make it stable, but otherwise it's fluffy, like a wool spinning vat. Basically, it's quite fluffy and works the same way that something like fiberglass or thin slate or something like that would work, but obviously it comes from sheep and it does smell sheepy, which I like because I work with wool. But some people might not like that. It is cleaned, it is washed, it is what have you, and it has been treated with borax to prevent things like moths and bugs and stuff like that. So that is my main insulation for thick areas, for in the cavities of the walls and where, you know, the kind of window panel and area is, and also for the lower panels. And I will also be using that in my ceiling, between the ceiling ribs. I also have some thin foam insulation. It has like silver foil on it and it's sticky back. This is the one I'm kind of thinking, did I need to buy? But I'm going to use it anyway. That was the barn door. I accidentally bought the wrong thickness. This is 5mm. I recommend 10. I actually thought I was buying 15, but I misread the listing. So I have 5mm foam. And where I will use this is as a, well, in my floor is very highly ribbed. Plywood will be going onto the, straight onto the the tops of the ribs, with a barrier in between the metal and the wood, but where the dips are, I'm going to put some of this, but unfortunately with it being only 5mm, I will probably end up having to double this up. So I'll be cutting it into thin strips to fit in those gaps in the floor. But because I have so much of it, I think I'm going to put a layer of this on some of my easier to reach flat panels and also in the ceiling first before the wool insulation goes in, because I already have condensation today, and it's about lunchtime now, on my ceiling of the van towards the front. I have condensation, and you know, it's not like there's warm air in here. It's cold, it's February. So I'm going to put some of this on to help combat some of that condensation and those condensation issues, because there won't be that cold metal surface exposed to any moisture in the air then. And I think that's it for this. Just wherever I can find space to put it on bare metal where it's not sticking out, where it's in the inside bits. My carpet, like vehicle carpet fabric for things like headliners and pillars and all that sort of stuff. It is in the colour beige. It's sometimes called wheat or sand or barley. This one is kind of a pinky brown beige, which I actually like. It has a warm tone to it. I was a little worried it'd be a little too yellow when it came, but it isn't. It's a decent shade of beige. And the other material that I'm using is as a thermal barrier to stop thermal bridging. So if you have bare wood straight onto the metal, you're going to get heat loss from the wood absorbing heat from the inside of the van, and then touching the cold surface is going to draw more heat away. Cold draws heat. So to combat that, where there is bare metal and the wood going straight onto it, I'll be using some of this. This is what you would put behind your radiators in the house to stop heat loss. Well, I don't think people really use it much anymore, but I have seen it in older people's older houses where they haven't got very good insulation, things like that. This can be put behind your radiators to reflect the heat back out into the room. It's quite thin, I think it's about 3mm, and this is mostly for where the ribs are on my roof, where the wood of my ceiling will touch. I will put strips of this to stop thermal bridging, and actually on my floor, on those high ridges that the plywood will be touching, it will also go on. I will probably just lay a sheet of it across the whole floor before the plywood goes on. I have a decent amount of it. I think I will have enough, but I will obviously check before I get to that point. And I hope that doesn't cause problems with condensation underneath it. I don't think it will with having the foam in the dips. So the foam in the dips and then that across the top, and then there won't really be much metal kind of exposed for condensation to gather. And if any does, I can't combat every bit of damp in this van. I live in the UK. We have very damp weather. It's and high humidity, especially where we live on the Orkney Islands. So that is my plan. So I'm going to start with the foam, I think, in anywhere that I can want to put it, and then this video and the carpet sticking on might overlap each other a wee bit, in that you might see parts of the insulation going in after the carpet's been fitted, and when in the carpet video parts of insulation will be in but parts won't, because certain jobs are just going to have to overlap each other. The wool insulation, for example, will not go into these panel cavities, these ones here, until after the carpet has gone on. So I better get started, and it is coming in cloudy, so I hope it's not going to rain, and it's quite cold already without adding more damp to it. Okay, better get on. So this stuff, the same way that the sound deadening stuff is silver on one side and is sticky back on the other. Just peel off the paper and stick it straight on. So all I need to do is cut these pieces to size, patch them up best I can, because this is wider than this. I think this is 500 wide. I'm not sure what that is in English money. I think that's around 20 inches. So I'll just patch these up as best I can. I have plenty of this, so I think I'll be fine to just put it wherever I think that it would benefit from it. And so I'm just gonna get on. This stuff cuts really easy with the scissors that I use, just regular. You could use household scissors for this. I happen to have a pair of missing scissors, upholstery scissors somewhere. There we go. Old upholstery scissors that John gave me to use, and it just cuts like thick paper, to be honest. So this should go on hopefully fairly straightforward. So I've covered all the big panels and the ceiling, other than a small section at the back, because I still have to install the roof vent in here when it arrives. It's had a vent in before, and they've obviously taken it out and just patched it up with a piece of who knows what, piece of plastic. John is drilling outside, or maybe he's screwing together. He's making some shelving in the barn for storage, so he's making quite a racket outside. So I've put this on the panels, put it on the ceiling, and I haven't put any in the lower panels because I'm not sure how much I'm going to have left over. I have a reasonable amount left. I've used quite a lot more than I thought I would, but because I want to put some in the floor, actually I'll show you the ridges I mean. As you can see, I have low spots and they're quite frequent. They're only 2-inch rises, 2-inch dips. So I want to put some of this in those gaps before I put the thermal barrier over the top before the plywood goes on. So I will fit that first and then see how much I have left over, and then if I have any I can just put it in wherever I think it'll fit. Okay, I took a break from doing the insulation to fit the floor, but I'm back today to do the insulation. I'll have the floor in another video. Today is wool insulation. I have this big bag of wool insulation. It's kind of like fiberglass or like a polyester insulation, except obviously it's made with sheep's wool. It is felted on one side and on the other side is fluffy so that it can expand and fluff up and what have you. And I have instructions from John that I should wear a mask to do this, and gloves. I don't think I need to use gloves. I'm used to spinning fibre on a spinning wheel. But mask, I don't know, perhaps, because there seems to be quite a lot of fibres floating around. So I'll just see how I go. I guess it just depends on how tolerant you are with wool fibre. And the fact that it's felt on one side means you can kind of cut it into sections or tear. I don't know if I could tear this actually. Maybe if I yanked it really hard. But I do have a pair of scissors. I have a tape measure for measuring how long a section I need to cut off for certain areas. I have some spray adhesive. I won't be using a lot of this. It's more just to stop it from sliding around in the places that I put the insulation in. And I have a pokey stick for being able to push the insulation into things like the pillars at the back here and across the top. I just got this from the garden. It's a little damp, which is to my advantage because it means it's a little bit flexy and bendy, and I had to find one that wasn't too brittle, that it wouldn't snap off in the cavities. And I think that's everything I'm going to need. Obviously if I come across anything else I will let you know, and all my materials, I don't know if I've mentioned in this video, but I will link everything that I've used in the description box, either what I have bought or the closest equivalent that I can find. So these pieces of plastic have been taken off of the pillars. There are some larger ones that go at the bottom here and some small ones that go on at the top corner, just for access to be able to put the insulation in. So what I'm going to do is take my tape measure, feed it through this hole in the corner along this top part to the door pillar, and see how long a piece of insulation that I need. I think I'll probably end up just cutting a strip off the end of the roll. I think this is, I bought a 600 wide roll of wool insulation, and I think that'll probably be about right to come to about here. And then I will measure and fit the piece that goes all the way down here, probably in 2 sections, because I need to see where the cables are in the bottom here so that I don't interfere with those. this stuff's quite fluffy on the back and expands out quite a lot. So in areas where I think this fluff is going to be kind of in the way of things like cables and stuff, I'm just taking some of that excess off the back to make a thinner section of insulation that's a bit more dense. And then this fluffy stuff I can shove into awkward to get into areas. So there's this centre, it's not really a pillar, it's not upright, but this centre cavity here that has very little access. There is metal along most of the bottom here, and this section there is a gap at either end and in the middle. So I will use all this excess fluff to fill this area, and then like down in this cavity here I've got some cables and stuff, and I don't want too much of this excess fluff that could cause issues with that. So I will use some of the thinner, denser stuff and use plenty of spray adhesive to keep it stuck close to the wall, so that it won't interfere with anything. I think this is mostly the electrics down here for my lights, I think. Yeah, I think it's for our rear lights, so I don't want to interfere with that. So I have insulated almost everywhere now. There's just I've done this door, and there's just the door on the opposite side to do. I'm just stopping for a few minutes to finish off the areas I haven't put the wall insulation in yet, because in these areas I'm actually going to use some of the foam foil that I used to put on these top panels first, and in the ceiling, the roof, because there is so much mechanism and cables and all sorts going on in here. I want to be able to get some insulation back here and at the bottom, and also on the back door, but there is just so much mechanical work there and cables that I don't want to interfere with them with the fleece stuff, and also I don't want anything to get gummed up with excess fibres. So I'm just going to add some foam in there, and then I'll move on to this other door. The only other place I haven't insulated is on my small back door that doesn't have much in the way of mechanics in it, but there is some bits lower down. I'm thinking of using some of the loose fibre and popping it into like a bag or polythene or something, and putting them in kind of little pouches. I got that idea from Van Ventures with Geordie. She did that on her back door because she didn't want the insulation to get wet and go yucky. I think she was using polyester insulation, and it kind of the same sort of thing here, but also I don't want the fibres to gunk up any, like the door catch mechanism and stuff like that. So that's all the insulation fitted. I could probably still pack more in the sides and what have you, and in the doors, but I want to make sure that I have enough left to go in my ceiling. I do have a decent amount left, but I don't want to run out, basically. So I am currently looking a bit like a polar bear. It did look worse earlier. I did take a 5-minute breather, and I had to wash all this off. It came off quite well with white spirit, so I need to go get cleaned up. I need to get the hoover out and just hoover up any excess fibres. Having the doors open is actually blowing quite a lot of them out, which is great, just in the kind of nooks and crannies where they're kind of getting stuck and what have you. And that's the insulation done, ready for, or just about ready for doing the carpeting. I think I'm going to need more spray adhesive though, because I thought I had enough for both jobs, but I do not. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.